Okay, so hello everyone. Good morning in Israel, good afternoon in Asia Pacific. We are starting our webinar and welcome to you all. Thank you for joining us. This is the Israeli Innovation for Ports, Shipping and Maritime Logistics webinar hosted by the Ministry of Economy and Industry of Israel, by the economic offices of Israel around the world and in Asia Pacific specifically, and co-hosted together with the DOC, the Maritime Innovation Hub from Israel. My name is Yaniv Goldberg. I'm the head of Israel Economic and Trade Office in Korea, but I'm joined here today with my colleagues, the commercial attachés of Israel from Asia Pacific and all around the world. And with us today are more than 100 participants already, and the number is keep rising. So thank you for joining us. In today's webinar, as you can see in the agenda, we will have some opening remarks by Mr. Hanan Karmeli, the co-founder of the DOC Innovation Hub, and then a keynote speaker, Mr. Madalame from NYK, Japan, who will give us a short talk, and then 6 Israeli innovative companies from the maritime industry will give their short pitches. We will close by a B2B session, pre-arranged meetings that we ask you to submit your requests. During the webinar, we will publish a poll to ask you for your satisfaction, and you are invited also to ask for more meetings with specific companies during the poll. I would like also to thank again the DOC Innovation Hub for partnering with us and for all of you that joined us today. I would like also to say a few short comments. I put here some pictures of Mauritius and the Beirut port, and another port that might be any kind of port all around the world. In Mauritius, recently, last week, we have a still ongoing incident of MV Wakashayo. It's a ship that ran across the shore of Mauritius and caused a heavy environmental disaster, mostly, I guess, because they did an accident and navigate wrongly. In the Beirut port, I guess all of us know what happened, and as long as still we don't know the cause of the accident, but obviously the need for technologies to monitor hazardous materials that are located in ports to make sure that ships are navigating securely around the shores and in deep sea, and all kinds of technologies to allow better shipments, better logistics in harbors are a necessity, and this is a growing industry nowadays. The 6 Israeli companies that we'll present today, I believe, represent the state of the art of technology in those industries. My last comment will be actually just look for us at Google, Israel Economic Offices. You will find all the details, all the contact details that you can see here of the different commercial attachés all around the world of Israel. There are 45 offices like that, and I invite you to contact them directly in your respected countries and to talk with them about business opportunities from Israel, by the way, not only in the maritime industry. And last comment, I would like now to give the floor to Mr. Gadi Rushing, the CEO and co-founder of Wave. So Gadi, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Yaniv, and thank you very much also, Hanan, and for everyone for arranging this excellent webinar. I'm sharing my screen. So, as Yaniv mentioned, my name is Gadi Rushing, and I'm the co-founder and the CEO of Wave. We've discussed a lot about logistics and shipping in general. And I would like to add another layer of complexities and inefficiencies which are more related to trade. And this is, of course, the vast use of paper documents, which are still used along the supply chain and in trade. These documents, of course, will also travel between your customers, between the buyers and sellers, the banking industry, insurers, which mean that trade eventually is the largest network in the world and includes practically the entire B2B world. And it is still extremely paper-based, which means that, of course, the most famous document is the bill of lading, which is a document of title to the goods in transport. Of course, our in the audience, the carriers will know this document because they issue it, and it's a very important document for them. The corporates on this session will definitely identify it as well, because they use it, and this is how they control the shipment. And this, of course, is still done in a paper format, which is traveling between the different participants along each and every supply chain. Of course, using paper is extremely inefficient, it is expensive, it is slow, which means that the typical trade transaction will take between 10 to 14 days just for the documentary flow to travel between the different participants. In some unique cases, it will even take more, and this is without having any human errors or without having any discrepancies on the documents themselves. The COVID-19 situation has actually pointed out even more, or let me rephrase. There is a known saying in the B2B world that if it ain't broken, don't fix it. During the COVID-19 epidemic, actually paper have caused trade in some cases, not of course all of trade, but in some cases it got it to be broken, which means that the risk is dramatically higher. Natixis Bank lost $46 million just last week for forged documents. Last month, HSBC was involved in 2 commercial disputes involving over almost $100 million in financing over forged documents. In India, the ports kept on running quite normally. However, the planes, the courier airplanes could not land. So the ports were flooded with containers, and there was an actual worldwide shortage of containers because everything was stuck. It arrived to the port but could not be released because of missing documentation. Solution is, of course, digitization. Digitizing international trade is a long mission already experienced or I would say pushed by many industry participants for many years. The banking industry are the biggest evangelists of trade digitization because they would like to, of course, provide a better service to their customers. When banks are involved, there are no workarounds, no way bills, no telex releases, and nothing else. But of course, also the industry participants themselves, the carriers, buyers and sellers, which are still require full dependency on the paper documents. Wave, of course, is doing exactly that, which means that Wave is a tool that is designed to digitize original documents while keeping the commercial and commercial, legal, and any other aspect, which means that we mirror paper, but in a fully electronic format. Just to give you some sense of the savings that can be done using trade digitization. So our fastest transaction that involved the banking industry, of course, if banks are not involved, we can digitize the transaction from days to practically 10 minutes. However, when you add the banking industry, so of course, it's a slightly more complicated transaction. Our fastest ever transaction with the banking industry was done with BBVA a couple of years ago, and we managed to complete a full letter of credit transaction in 2 hours and 37 minutes, including solving of discrepancies, which means that one of the documents was not electronically signed, but still we managed to complete it in less than 3 hours. And of course, it's much, much faster than 14 days. Always bear in mind that sometimes the shipment takes only 2 to 3 days, or sometimes even overnight. Of course, digitizing the transaction is crucial in many cases. Our platform is designed to be as simple as and as instant to deploy as possible. The logic behind it is that in order to digitize trade, you need a very large network. You need to have the buyers, the sellers, the freight forwarders, carriers, banking industry, sometimes even regulators are involved or government agencies. So we designed Wave not to improve trade or not to streamline, but just to digitize it, which means that today, in a second, I will explain about the carrier's activity, but on board a buyer or a seller, which means that importer or exporter can onboard instantly, which means that within 5 minutes, the network can already start receiving their documents electronically from their current existing service providers. Now, on top of that, they will not need to have any internal changes, which mean that onboarding Wave can be done in a fully standalone mode without connecting it to any ERP, TMS, or any other system that your organization is managing its transaction with. Of course, you can also integrate it, the large carriers, MSC, Zim, others as well, and of course in the banking industry are already working on integrations in order not only to save the external time of documents transportation, but also to streamline internal operation, reduce manual operations and FTEs in order to streamline trade and completely automate it, because eventually every member of the supply chain also has other activities on top of the documents. So let's focus on that and not on moving paper documents around the world. Why should you even do it? So the savings for organizations can sum up to millions of dollars per year. DCSA, which is the Digital Shipping Container Association, which we of course are members of, supporting, not in members, only carriers can be full members, have calculated that if we reduce before only 50% of the use of paper in the supply chain, the industry will save around $4 billion. Maersk have calculated that in many cases, the handling of documents will cost between 20 to 25% of the actual cargo, of the cost of the cargo, which means that the savings for digitizing documents are not just courier envelopes or paper and ink, which are also important and sums up to huge amounts, but the savings will be enormous per organization. For example, one very large Japanese conglomerate, which is now evaluating Wave, got his eureka moment when he realizes that every shipment that he is doing, the documents will be sent from the country of origin to Japan for internal processing and then forwarded to the destination. Almost every transaction will have demurrage costs. So the use of paper is creating enormous costs, but also many risks. Of course, forge of the bills of lading or cargo theft while releasing cargo without the original bill of lading is something which is happening on a daily basis. And of course, paper is also tend to get lost every now and then. And when a bill of lading is lost, it's a big issue. Bringing a bank guarantee of minimum of double the amount of the goods in transport is of course a very problematic activity, both for the importer, but also for the shipping company itself, for the carrier. Wave network, of course, is fully active and alive. We are already active almost all around the world. Actually, 5 is not very accurate because we already have activities also in Africa. We have, since the COVID-19 situation initiated, this was our tipping point, and we moved from dozens of bills of lading per week. We are now doing dozens of bills of lading per day, summing up to lower thousands already on a monthly basis. 47.6% of the container shipping industry, which is the top 11, are already rolling out Wave. MSC and Zim are currently already in full production, and if you are using their services, just contact your local representative office and request Wave, and very soon after, you will be already fully digitized, and they will also assist you to onboard your customers on the other side. The banking industry, of course, are slightly slower to adapt. However, because of the high motivation, so 19 banks are already accepting bills of lading in a controlled environment, which means that in a pilot mode, but early next year, they will all be rolling out. Wave has already finished proof of concepts and pilot with 68 different banks. All of them are progressing towards production, but of course, because of regulatory barrier, the adoption is relatively slow. They have to check it all, but large players like HSBC, US Bank, Wells Fargo, ANZ, many banks in Asia, in Europe, and in the US are already accepting bills of lading or electronic documents. Wave, of course, is not just for the bill of lading, but for all the documents, including packing lists, invoices, certificates of origin, and all others. Corporates, the numbers are jumping on a daily basis. We currently have 440 active corporates which are working or fully digitize their activity as well already. The numbers are growing on a daily basis because currently the network deployment is actually done by the carriers. You can join now and work together with us, with the founding team, or you can just wait a little while and then the carrier will offer you, because of course, digitizing trade is an industry mission. It's not something which is, it's not just a traditional startup. It's a network-based activity which is led by the ocean carriers today. All of them are aligning, all of them are offering, the majority is offering Wave. The rest will follow up as well. And we look forward for a fully digitized industry. Of course, from all the different aspects of trade, Wave is fully accepted all around the world, which means that if you have a commercial dispute and the bill of lading will need to go to court, of course, this will be accepted. We are fully approved by the IGP&I club, or clubs, which are the insurers of the carrier. We are fully complied with the International Chamber of Commerce, the UNICITRAL, DCSA, all the different standards that exist, as well as the ITFA, because eventually Wave will not only replace bills of lading, but also bills of exchange, prom notes. This is the Pareto of Wave, digitizing trade, digitizing documents, not only bills of lading. So of course, we are already working on other financial assets, such as bills of exchange, prom notes, which are also used either by yourselves or by your customers. All of them are sent today in the same courier envelope, and we would like to provide full paperless trade experience, and we are working towards that from all the different aspects. So we invite you all to either contact us directly or your carriers in order to onboard and to join the digitalization of the industry. The savings or the efficiency of trade will be unbelievably noticeable for every organization. The amount of time which is lost just for waiting for documents to arrive is going to be slashed dramatically as well. And we invite you to join. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you so much, Gadi. And I would like